I am good with that. Morning guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Philosophy. So today's video is kind of a refresh of the video that I did about 2 years ago, which was my journey from zero to $100,000 in net worth. We're going to be doing an updated version of this, my journey from $0 net worth to $134,000 in 8 years. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the highest net worth that I've ever recorded was just over $146,000. And I ended up hitting that in December 2021. Very, very close to the $150,000 mark. The reason why my current net worth is quite a bit lower than that is because I decided to leave my corporate job back in November 2021. The reason I decided to leave my corporate job is because I was at the time going to pursue becoming a helicopter pilot. I'll link a video above and below if you are interested in watching my video about that. But that is why I left that job, and the whole helicopter pilot thing did not end up working out. So now I've been kind of just playing around with different ideas and exploring different avenues. The majority of my net worth was saved during the years that I worked in sales roles. I was making anywhere between about $60,000 to $90,000. I had years where I made quite a bit more if I had a good sales year, and those were the years that I put away quite a bit of money, and I was also able to get my expenses quite low. So I don't have any kind of education other than high school. I moved to Calgary, Alberta back in 2014. At the time, I was just working minimum wage office jobs. Once I got to Calgary, I started at $16 an hour, and I worked in that role for about a year and a half. And once I transitioned into a higher paying job, once I discovered that sales could be a way that I could actually build my net worth quite quickly, I decided to really commit to that. And I was able to increase my salary year over year quite quickly. I was also working 2 jobs at one time. On top of my full-time job, I worked part-time jobs just to supplement my income, have a bit of extra spending money, and to build my net worth a little bit quicker. So I did the 2 jobs for about 4 or 5 years. This really helped me boost my net worth and numbers, but also allowed me to continue to travel and do the things I wanted to do outside of work. I think this is really critical to get early on in life to make sure that you have a really good balance and ensure that you're getting the things that you want and also need from your life. Working 2 jobs for this long instilled a really strong work ethic in me and allowed me to expand my horizons in terms of being able to have side hustles and side jobs and expand my skill set so that if I wanted to, I could branch out and do some different things. This is not something I would recommend to everyone, but it is worth exploring in your younger years to just give you a little bit of a taste of different industries. So I think one of the biggest things for me in getting from a $0 net worth to $134,000 is that I decided to uproot my life and move out to a different city. I am originally from Ottawa, Ontario, and Ontario doesn't really pay the best, and their living costs are quite high. So I decided to move to Calgary to pursue better opportunities, and this by far was my best decision. It definitely made my path a lot easier, and I was able to increase my income way quicker than I ever could have staying in Ontario. So this is a tip I have for you guys if you're looking to increase your net worth and you don't have a traditional educational background or anything like that to fall back on. If you can find a job that you might enjoy in a different city and you have the ability to move to that city, this could be the biggest thing for you in terms of building your net worth really quickly. This is also why I really advocate for people who are in their early 20s or mid 20s to keep their options open without purchasing property that won't become a rental at some point. Maybe continue to rent so that you do have that flexibility to be able to move for those jobs. My priorities have never been to retire early. I am always pursuing a lifestyle that allows me to travel frequently, see the places that I really want to see, find work that I actually enjoy, because sitting around at home and doing nothing is only really relaxing for so long. I feel like most people want some kind of challenge, some kind of creative outlet or intellectual project that allows them to continue to learn and grow, which leads me into the next point, which is creative projects. I'd love to be able to have time to be able to pursue all three of those things, and having a normal or typical 9 to 5 office job doesn't really allow you the flexibility to be able to do that. And if you live in a country like Canada or the United States, 2 weeks vacation is just not enough time to be able to pursue all of the interests you have outside of work, on top of just taking care of a household, or if you have kids, or living a normal life. There are so many things that take away from pursuing the passions or the things that you actually want to do, that having a non-traditional working situation could really allow you to expand on those things. I am definitely thankful to my past self who decided to go and grind away at work, make as much money as possible, have side jobs, because it set me up in a position now where I actually can decide what I want to do going forward. And this is something I've mentioned in numerous past videos, but even just pursuing a FIRE lifestyle or getting to know your money, how to manage it, what's coming in, what's going out, it's going to open so many doors for you to be able to pursue a lifestyle that you actually want. You don't necessarily have to stick in a 9 to 5, making 6 figures or close to or more to be able to retire as soon as possible. You can take a different route, something similar to what I'm doing, building up a good little nest egg, and then allowing yourself to just explore some different options while you're still relatively young. But without my past self grinding in a job that I really didn't like, I wouldn't be in a position now where I'm able to actually make these decisions and to change things up to be able to live this more flexible lifestyle. And I wanted to touch on the mental aspect of moving from a golden handcuffs kind of situation where you have a pretty well-paying full-time job to working at a brewery for $18 an hour and pursuing something on YouTube, which thank you guys so much for supporting my channel, all of you who watch my videos on a regular basis. I just passed my 2-year mark on YouTube. I cannot believe it's been that long. The mental side of this is interesting because now that I work at a brewery and I'm delivering beer and driving around the city, seeing a lot of business type people just out and about, there is a little part of me that feels like I'm no longer part of that crowd, but I also almost feel like those types of people are looking down on me. And I'm not too crazy about that feeling, but I think it's more just a brainwashing thing of being in a corporate normal job for so long. It makes me feel like I'm not doing what I should be doing, even though I enjoy it so much more and I'm able to actually pursue creative things like YouTube or working full time at a normal job. I just really wouldn't have the time to do it without giving up so many other things like a social life and taking care of everything else you have to take care of when you're an adult. There's also sort of a stigma around being someone who creates content online. I held back on telling so many people about this YouTube channel for so long because I was a little bit embarrassed about it. I was a little bit nervous that people finding out that I was pursuing YouTube would make them kind of snicker, talk behind my back. And I know people do that regardless. People who, don't have much going on in their own lives or aren't pursuing the things that they actually want to pursue. They're just projecting it onto you. But there is a bit of nervousness when you are telling people that you are doing YouTube, because I think there's just still an awkward air around it. Being a little bit older, being in my 30s, I feel like there is even more of a stigma around it, and that really sucks. So I have decided to just get it all out there and tell everyone that this is what I'm doing, because I think it makes it more real for me, and it also motivates me to actually follow through and keep pursuing it and making sure I'm putting in more effort. So one of the biggest things for me on my journey from $0 to $134 in net worth is that I chose to not go to post-secondary school. And I did go to post-secondary for about 2 weeks, but decided to drop out and not pursue it after all. There's also been a few times where I had applied to go to college, but never actually followed it through. And of course, with helicopter school, I decided to not pursue that as well. So this was a huge chunk of debt that I never took on. I don't have parents that could afford to pay for my schooling, so it would have been out of my pocket with student loans to be able to pursue something like that. This was a huge bonus for me because I went into the working world full time right at about 16, and I was getting full-time paychecks right out of the gate. Although for the first few years, I just spent everything I made. Once I got tuned into personal finance and how to manage money, this is when I really started to look at what was coming in, look at what was going out, and making a plan to pursue FIRE and to put away as much money as I possibly could without sacrificing absolutely everything that I enjoyed in my life. If you're looking to pursue the FIRE path or get out of debt or build your net worth quickly and you're younger, I would definitely look into maybe not going to school, but consider looking into the trades. They are quite a bit less expensive than going to something like a university and getting a degree. But I think if you really want to pursue FIRE and have a comfortable lifestyle, you have to research what types of jobs are actually in demand and how much money you're going to have to put in to get that degree, and then what that job will initially pay. And make sure you figure all that out. I don't recommend just following like your passion or going to school for whatever you want and taking on a lot of debt for it. If your parents are going to pay for it or something like that, then sure, go for it. It's not your money, so you're not going to miss it. But not going to school was a huge factor in me being able to save up this amount of money in the 8 years that I have been pursuing this. The way that I learned how to manage my money was through just curiosity and self-research. I also learned from my parents' mistakes. I saw a lot of debt and struggling with money and not being able to make ends meet growing up. This was a learning experience for me to never end up that way. I had to go out and actually find the information that I needed, but I had to have that interest to begin with to be able to actually go out and find that information. And what started all of this for me was the subreddit Personal Finance and Personal Finance Canada, and then that eventually blossomed into the Financial Independence subreddit. It took me many years to learn the basics and to actually implement all of the things that seem like logical steps to me now, like making a budget and finding out how much money I actually brought in and how much I was spending, or to find out interest rates and what makes sense to pay off quicker, what makes sense to make a payment plan for, or credit scores. And there are so many things that I consider just common knowledge now. And I know for a fact that when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, I had absolutely no clue about this stuff. It's not something they taught in school. It's not something my parents ever talked to me about. It's not something that my friends and I ever discussed. And this is one of the major reasons why I wanted to make a YouTube channel about finance, is because it's just not talked about enough. And these are basic life skills. You have to know how to manage your money if you want to live a happy, somewhat stress-free life, because it is just what we live on. Unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society where money buys everything. You need money to buy food, shelter, everything, all of your basic needs you need money for. So you have to know how to manage money, because it is what makes you be able to survive and live a comfortable life. Once I kind of consumed as much as I could on the personal finance and the financial independence subreddits, it got a little bit monotonous. It was just the same thing over and over again, because truly, once you have the basics down, you're pretty much set. And if you're someone who struggles with saving money or making a budget, just having automatic payments come out and like go into your savings account can be a really good thing to do just to get you in the groove. But once I consumed as much as I could, I decided to start reading books. I would check them out at my local library. I think I've read about 15 to 20 books about finance and retirement and savings and FIRE and everything. And then it just kind of faded after that. I felt like I had consumed so much of that information. The only thing I haven't really researched is trading in the stock market, like buying individual stocks or day trading or anything like that, because I pretty much stick to my index funds, throw whatever I can in there and let them grow as they grow. So my journey was a little bit different than maybe some of the ones that you've heard about. not a traditional path whatsoever. But I wanted to remake this video because I think it's really important for us to talk about what our journeys are like. I think it is probably the most motivating thing, is to hear someone else, what they went through and how they got to where they are. A lot of the stories that are out there are basically people who were cushioned their whole lives. They had their education paid for. They got a job at like their dad's company and they're making six figures right out of the gate, and they have a spouse making the same amount. And it's like, okay, you're a $200,000 household and you have no kids. Like, yeah, you can save a lot of money. Like, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. Referencing the video I made about pursuing FIRE on a lower income, it's definitely possible. You don't need to make six figures to be able to pursue this kind of lifestyle. What you have to do is get smart with money really early on. Try to avoid debt if you can, and just build your income over the years. Move to cities that are offering the jobs that are paying more, and making sure that you're setting yourself up for a really good future. If you can grind and work your hardest when you're younger, if you can take on multiple jobs, then I say do it. If you're not interested in that, that is also fine. It totally depends on what kind of lifestyle you want. For me, I wanted to retire early and I wanted to save as much money as I could so I could completely get out of the rat race. And that eventually evolved into me deciding that instead of grinding away for like 30 years, I was gonna slow down, live off of some of the savings that I had accumulated, and then restructure what my life looked like. Because waiting until you're in your 60s or 50s to start living and to start pursuing the things you want to pursue just doesn't really make any sense. I think not enough of us in this community talk about the struggle between enjoying something now, pursuing the things you want to pursue now, and putting it off until some magical date in the future when you have a certain amount of money in the bank. Getting the basics down of finance and making sure that you're secure and you have some cushion is realistically, it's enough to change your life and figure out what you want to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching today. Leave me a comment in the description box below about your journey, what your struggles have been. I love hearing from you guys, and I will see you in the next video.